concern you at all?
No, not at all, Larry. We were hoping for a big turnout. The fact is, when you look at our governor's races and the Senate races in 2002, Republicans benefit from big turnout. We registered 3.4 million Republican voters in this election cycle. We were turning them all out. I anticipated between the growth in the population between 2000 and 2004 and the extra emphasis of both parties, I think one of the most important things that both Terry and I do as party chairs is bring people into the political process. On the Democratic side, frankly, they contracted out to these outside groups. By the way, to answer your question about George Soros, he spent $24.5 million. He and two other gentlemen accounted for $50 million in soft money in this election cycle. But that's fine. We were able to raise plenty of resources as a result of the president's strong appeal amongst Republicans and a lot of Democrats and independents as well. So we'll match them dollar for dollar, I think, at the end of the day with our federal dollars against their soft dollars. And the fact is, I think you're going to see the benefit of our strong turnout effort tonight as the votes start being counted.
We're going to wrap it up. A quick question to you, Terry McAuliffe. Do you see any evidence out there that there was any hanky-panky out there across the country? By our anecdotal reporting, it looks like things are going relatively smoothly.
Yeah, I agree, Wolf. I think things have gone very smoothly. We had all of our folks out there to monitor situations. I'm very happy that people went in, they cast their votes. But as I say, we had a record amount of people that came out and put their footwork out there to say, I want to go vote for John Kerry. I want to change this country. So it was a great day for democracy, great day for America, and President-elect John Kerry a couple hours from now.
Wolf, if you give me one more second, I'm happy to let Terry respond to this, but I do think that needs to be remarked upon because there has been, unfortunately, hanky-panky, as you put it out there. We had in Wisconsin 40 of our vans for Get Out the Vote had their tires slashed. We have seen in the precincts, MoveOn.org, a group that supports Senator Kerry, intimidating and harassing Republican voters in line. We have seen constant reports on the ground of Republican voters being intimidated by MoveOn.org and union members supporting Senator Kerry. It's unfortunate. It ought to stop, and I hope Terry will call on Senator Kerry supporters not to engage in those intimidation tactics, as I have done for President Bush's supporters.
All right, Terry McAuliffe, you want to respond quickly?
Yeah. Sure, I could sit here, the letters that went out the other day telling people to vote on November 3rd, all the types of antics. I'm not going to do that tonight. You know what?
Right.
This is about democracy. This is about people going to vote. It was a great day for America. Let's move on. It's exciting. John Kerry will be elected president tonight, and it'll be a new America starting tomorrow.
One of these guys.
Terry, hold on one second. Terry McAuliffe and Ed Gillespie, we're going to say thanks to both of you for joining us. We'll be checking back with you. What were you saying, Larry?
One of these guys is wrong.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know which one.
You figured that out.
I figured it out.
They're both very happy, supposedly. Dana Bash is joining us now, our White House correspondent at Bush headquarters, with information. What have you learned, Dana?
Hi, Wolf. Well, you just heard Ed Gillespie talking about the fact that the Republicans believe they have almost a 200,000 vote advantage when it comes to absentee ballots. Well, folks here at the Bush campaign are saying that they have now heard from the election supervisor in Miami-Dade County in Florida, who says that they are likely not going to be able to count majority of the absentee ballots. That is perhaps as many as 65,000 ballots until Thursday. So they are telling us that, essentially bracing for perhaps not just a long election night, but perhaps a couple of days now. You heard the president today say that he wants election night to be over on election night, but they are looking at this and saying that because a big part of their strategy is absentee ballots, because Miami-Dade County is a place that is very Republican, they say they are certainly thinking that perhaps this might not be over tonight. Of course, that depends on the rest of the margin in the state of Florida. Wolf.
All right, Dana Bash, we'll be checking back with you as well. 16 states about to close their precincts, their balloting, coming up at the top of the hour. We'll take a look, see if we can project any winners. We'll let you know. In the meantime, we'll take a quick break from the NASDAQ market site here at Times Square in New York City. Much more coverage coming up.
CNN's coverage of America Votes 2004 is sponsored by Americans.
There it is, the CNN Election Express bus. Look where it is, in the heart of Times Square, right across the street from where we are, the NASDAQ market site for CNN Election Headquarters. Complete coverage of Election Night 2004. Welcome back. Paula Zahn is joining us now from the CNN Time Warner Center. She's got the Crossfire crew over there, and they've got some opinions, I suspect, Paula.
Oh, no, not those guys. Let me introduce our audience now to men by now that are familiar to them. Tucker Carlson, Bob Novak, Paul Begala, James Carville. And I think we've been talking here throughout the last hour about the only story we seem to be in agreement on and that we can arrive at some conclusions about is that we believe we're looking at record turnout here. And we know that through our exit polling, 15% of the folks we talked to coming out of the polls today did not vote in the year 2000. I don't have a comparative number for the year 2000, but we know that we have some 10 million new voters out there who probably a majority of them will vote.
And that's nothing but good for the challenger. Some of them, now Karl Rove, the president's chief strategist, has long believed that there were 4 million Protestant Christian evangelicals, conservatives, who did not vote in 2000, who should be voting for the president this time around. So maybe some of them are Karl's phantom 4 million. But I think the better bet is that when you get 10 million new voters turning out, the likelihood is very strong that they want to vote for change, they want to vote for the challenger.
I guess the question I have for you, what would bring the evangelicals out? These are folks who are against the war. These are folks who think this president has run up the deficit.
I don't think the evangelicals are against the war. I don't think they worry about the deficit. I think they like George Bush. But Paul,
Do you agree with that? I've had a number. Pat Robertson on the air told us that.
But we're at a point now where this was the debate that was going on during the campaign. We're now down to the short strokes on who's going to win the electoral votes. And I've been on the phone to some Republicans in Ohio, and they're very pessimistic. The polls have closed in Ohio, but looking at the returns, they think it's going to be very tough for President Bush to carry Ohio. Now, no Republican has ever been elected president without carrying Ohio. It's always the first time. But let's say he loses Ohio. Then, of course, he must, under any conditions, carry Florida. But in addition to that, he's probably got to carry Iowa and Wisconsin, which are not gimmies. That makes it a very tight thing. And I understand, too, that the NAACP is suing to keep the polls open in Toledo, maybe even till midnight, as well as in some neighboring states.
Well, yeah, in fact, Bob, I just talked to a friend of mine with the Kerry campaign in Ohio who was a lot more optimistic than maybe your sources in the Bush campaign, and he told me that in Cuyahoga County, which is Cleveland is the dominant city in that county, that 25 minutes after the polls closed, African Americans were still waiting in line in predominantly black precincts, and they're going to be able to still vote. And so the Kerry people, based on turnout patterns, they feel pretty good about Ohio, which, as Bob points out, is a Bush state, and it would be the first takeaway that Kerry would get.
It's interesting, though, because we've seen those numbers continue to erode throughout this campaign, sometimes in our own polling showing that the issue of the economy trumped the issue of the war on terrorism and the war in Iraq. The economy is a huge issue because of the number of jobs lost, manufacturing jobs lost.
I don't buy that for a second. I've never bought that. I think, in fact, the Kerry campaign, which for most of the last 2 years was, I think, even by the agreement of most Democrats, extraordinarily badly run, just not a great campaign, only pulled itself together when it narrowed the themes down to one, Iraq. That's why Kerry is competitive and indeed may win. They spent, again, 2 years trying to convince people we were in a second worldwide depression. People didn't buy it, and the economy is soft. But all the polling on people's attitudes about the economy show it's going to be pretty hard to win on that alone. I really think, and I'm not saying this for any partisan reason, I just think it's true, that the only issue that really matters is the war on terrorism and Iraq.
Do you agree with that, James?
No. I mean,
what do you think is the issue that's emerged
I think people,
in the waning days
I
of this
think people
campaign?
say, the President of the United States gets a huge house. He's got office buildings, a gazillion staff. He has 12 cabinet departments. He's got all of this. And you know what? He ought to be able to protect us and help make us prosperous and keep the budget in balance all at the same time. And it's not a choice between we can protect you from the economy, but we can't keep the deficit under control at a crime rate or something else. And I think that people actually will expect both. They pay taxes, they have these people, they actually expect to keep them safe and to do the best they can. I understand that there's a limit to what the president can do, but there are a lot of people in places that 22, what is it? I forgot, a high percent, 22% of people voting for Kerry had a family member that lost a job. When you're fired, when you walk out of there, you're worried about your job.
But here's the problem. Kerry was never able to articulate how his economic program was substantially different from Bush's. He said, well, he's for cutting taxes for the rich. I'm against it, which is fine as a talking point. Beyond that, he never explained how
it was different. If I could get in here, the Republican pollster, Ed Goes, shows that the people who think that the economy is the most important issue, jobs, Social Security, are overwhelmingly voting for Kerry. The people who think that Iraq and terrorism is the most important issue, are overwhelmingly voting for Bush. So I have to disagree with Tucker. I believe that the economy is the issue that has made the Republicans in Ohio so nervous. Let me say, they still think they might barely carry Ohio, but they're very nervous right now, and that's going to be a very difficult thing for Bush to be elected. He has to really clean the board on other states if he loses Ohio.
Although, haven't we seen in the last couple of days John Kerry closing that gap a little when it comes to the issue of leadership in the war on terror and in prosecuting the war in Iraq?
Significantly, the president's lead on terrorism was 22 points about a week or two ago, halved it down to 11. It's cut in half down to 11. I mean, that is a huge break for John Kerry, and it hurts the president.
And the one thing we'll be watching very closely from here, Wolf, as the polls close at 8 o'clock, in particular what happens in Pennsylvania, Florida, and New Hampshire. James Carville thinks is very important. He'll explain why the next time we come back. Wolf.
Thanks very much, Paula. Thanks to the entire Crossfire gang as well. Look at this, 43 seconds to go, and we're going to be able to make some projections right at the top of the hour once the polls in the 16 states that are closing at 8 p.m. Eastern. Once all of those polls are closed, we'll be able to make some projections. These are important states for both of these candidates, a lot of them widely anticipated. We're going to see shortly whether there are any surprises in store for our viewers in the United States and around the world. We got new projections. All of these projections that we're about to make are projections that have come to us as a result of our exit polls and other data that we've collected from sample precincts in all of these states. It's now exactly 8 p.m. on the East Coast. CNN can project these states for the precincts reporting these states going for George W. Bush and John Kerry. Illinois, we don't know yet. We don't have enough information. Connecticut, we don't know yet. We don't have enough information. The District of Columbia, we don't have yet. But let's take a look at what we do have. And I'm going to look into the camera and tell our viewers, because here we go. Here we are. Here are the numbers that the states we can project for Illinois. John Kerry wins that state as expected. He wins Connecticut as well as expected. The District of Columbia, there was never any doubt there. New Jersey, a big win for John Kerry. This state supposedly had been contested. We will project it goes for John Kerry. Maryland as well expected. Here's a very interesting development in Maine. There are 4 electoral votes. The 2 at-large votes we project now will go to John Kerry. The first district will go to John Kerry, but the second district, we don't have enough information yet, so we can just project now that 3 out of those 4 electoral votes will go for John Kerry. We don't know about the 4th electoral vote. His home state of Massachusetts and those 12 electoral votes will go for John Kerry. Delaware, and 3 electoral votes as well. The president, we project, will carry Tennessee as expected, Alabama and Oklahoma both as expected. 3 states in this 8 o'clock Eastern time zone. So right now, just after 8 p.m. on the East Coast, we project that President Bush has 66 electoral votes. John Kerry has 77. 270 needed to be elected President of the United States. You see those various colors, Jeff Greenfield. Red states are Bush, blue states are Kerry. We've got a little purple up there as well in Maine.
Well, we don't know yet about one of those 2 districts. And as I say, this is one of the 2 states in the country, Nebraska being the other, that doesn't allocate its electoral votes winner take all. Could one vote be important? Bush's margin of safety 4 years ago was exactly 1 electoral vote. New Jersey, as you pointed out, Wolf, may have been a minor disappointment for the Bush campaign. The polling in New Jersey was looking at times as though that race were tied. New Jersey, 5 counties around New York lost some 500 people on the morning of September 11th. Security seemed to be playing very well. They had an unpopular Democratic governor who had to resign, Jim McGreevey. As it turns out, apparently the voting pattern is, as it's been now for the last 4 elections, a safe Democratic state.
We don't have enough information. I want to alert our viewers to project a winner in 2 important battleground states closing at this hour, Florida and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right now the polls are closed then in Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. And to say that the 2 campaigns and the army of political journalists are kind of interested in those 3 states, I'd like to claim that as the understatement of the night.
Point out to our viewers, Jeff, those are the white states. Those are states that have closed their polling booths, but we don't have enough information yet to project a winner.
Right. New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Virginia. This is a geography contest. North and South Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana. What's interesting so far is that none of the states that we have called have flipped yet. That's what we're all looking for. Will any state move from one or the other? I'm sorry, this is not, by the way, Louisiana. This is Mississippi.
Let's go to Judy Woodruff at the CNN Election Analysis Center to give us some information on why we have been able to project some winners and why we haven't been able to